Have you ever felt like you're carrying a load that doesn't belong to you, like your heart is heavy with expectations you didn't choose? You've been told you're not enough, not strong enough, not driven enough, not good enough. But what if that's a lie? What if the exhaustion you feel isn't weakness but the strain of living someone else's script? From childhood, you've been shaped by voices, family, society, culture, telling you who to be, what to want, how to live. These aren't your truths, they're burdens, layered on until you forgot your own rhythm. Today, we're unraveling this myth, exposing how external expectations dim your inner light and how shedding them reveals your true strength. This isn't about blame, it's about liberation, about stepping into the life that's yours. If you're here, you're ready to let go of the weight and rediscover the power that's always been within you. From your earliest days, you were handed a blueprint for life. Be good, follow the rules, fit in. Parents, teachers, friends, each added a piece to the load, expectations to meet, roles to play, norms to uphold. Don't disappoint us, they implied. Stay in line, they urged. You absorbed these messages, carrying them like stones in a backpack, each one etched with should or must. Be practical, be humble, be like everyone else. Over time, the weight became invisible. You didn't notice how heavy it was until you started to falter. You weren't born to feel inadequate. As a child, you dreamed freely, acted boldly, lived without apology. But the world taught you to doubt. You were praised for conforming, criticized for straying. Wanting more felt selfish, standing out felt risky. So you adjusted, molding yourself to fit the mold, silencing your inner voice to match the chorus around you. The result? A life that looks right on the outside, job, relationships, routines, but feels hollow within. You wake up tired, not from work, but from pretending. You smile, but it's not yours. You move through days that feel scripted, waiting for a moment to breathe. This load is like a shadow that follows you, cast by voices that aren't your own. It darkens your path, making each step heavier, until you believe the struggle is your fault. You're told you're weak, lazy, or broken, but the truth is simpler: you're carrying a burden you were never meant to bear. The moment you recognize this, the shadow begins to fade, and you start to see the light of your own truth. To expand, consider how this load accumulates. Every "you should" from a parent, every "that's not realistic" from a friend, every societal rule you absorbed added to the weight. It's not just words, it's the energy behind them, the pressure to conform that drowns out your intuition. Awakening begins when you notice the strain, when you question why your life feels like someone else's design. When you stumble under this load, the world is quick to judge. You're not trying hard enough, they say. Life is tough, deal with it. But your exhaustion isn't a failure of character, it's a signal. You're not weak, you're depleted, drained by years of carrying expectations that don't align with your soul. The system labels this as fragility because it needs you to stay in line, to keep carrying the load without questioning. If you believe you're weak, you won't challenge the script, you'll just try harder to fit it. This myth is insidious. It convinces you that your struggle is personal, not systemic. You blame yourself for feeling lost, for lacking energy, for not measuring up. But what if the problem isn't you? What if it's the weight of a life you didn't choose? The moment you feel this disconnect, when you wake up dreading the day, when conversations feel forced, when your heart aches for something more, that's not defeat. It's your soul pushing back, refusing to live a lie any longer. This myth is like a fog that obscures your strength. It clouds your vision, making you doubt your power, convincing you the struggle is yours alone. But the fog isn't permanent. When you see it for what it is, a story meant to keep you small, you can step through it, reclaiming the clarity of who you are. Your exhaustion is not weakness, it's a call to return to yourself. To delve deeper, reflect on how this myth permeates daily life. Every time you feel guilty for resting, inadequate for not achieving, or ashamed for wanting more, the myth tightens its grip. Recognizing these moments as external programming, not personal flaws, is the first step toward freedom. Your strength lies in pausing, questioning, and choosing to listen to your inner voice over the noise. The voices start early. Parents tell you to be responsible. Teachers urge you to follow the path. Friends expect you to share their priorities. Society demands you conform, get the job, pay the bills, don't rock the boat. These voices aren't malicious, they're often well-meaning, rooted in care or tradition. But they accumulate, filling your mind with a chorus of shoulds that drowns out your own. You live to please, to avoid judgment, to fit in, until your life feels like a performance, not a truth. This noise isn't just words, it's energy. You feel it in the pressure to say yes when you want to say no, to smile when you're drained, to pursue goals that don't excite you. It's in the conversations that feel like scripts, gossip, complaints, small talk that leaves you empty. You sense others' anxieties, their judgments, their chaos, and you absorb it, carrying it as if it's yours. Over time, you lose track of your own rhythm, moving to a beat that's not your own. This noise is like static on a radio, distorting the signal of your true self. It's constant, invasive, pulling you away from your center. You might not notice it at first, you're too busy tuning in to everyone else. But when the static becomes unbearable, when you can't stand another conversation that doesn't resonate, that's when you start to hear the silence beneath, the quiet where your truth waits. To expand, consider how this noise shapes your choices. You pick a career because it's expected, stay in relationships to avoid conflict, silence your dreams to keep the peace. Each choice adds to the static, distancing you from your essence. Awakening begins when you turn down the volume, listening for the faint signal of your own desires, letting it guide you back to clarity. There comes a moment when the weight becomes too much. You're sitting with friends, but their words feel distant, irrelevant. You're working, but the tasks feel meaningless. You're living, but it's not your life. A voice inside you screams, "I can't do this anymore." This isn't failure, it's a breakthrough. It's the moment your soul refuses to carry the load any longer, demanding you stop pretending, stop conforming, stop living for others. This breaking point is raw, messy, beautiful. It's when you feel the dissonance so sharply that you can't ignore it. You might pull away, skip gatherings, mute calls, retreat into silence. You're not running, you're reclaiming. You're carving out space to hear yourself, to strip away the layers of expectation. The world might call you cold or distant, but you're not. You're becoming real, shedding the roles that never fit. This moment is like a dam cracking under pressure. The water, your true self, has been held back, but the cracks let it flow. It's chaotic at first, flooding the landscape of your life, but it's also life-giving, nourishing the parts of you that were starved. The breaking point isn't destruction, it's the start of rebuilding, of creating a life that's yours. To delve deeper, embrace this chaos as a gift. It's not about having all the answers, it's about asking the right questions. Why do I feel this way? What's truly mine? What's been imposed? The discomfort is a signal, guiding you toward authenticity. It's the first step in a journey back to yourself, where every pause, every silence, becomes a space for truth to emerge. In the wake of the breaking point, you find something new, silence. Not the empty kind, but a living quiet, a space where you can hear your own thoughts. You might avoid calls, skip small talk, walk with headphones not for music but to block the noise. This isn't withdrawal, it's rediscovery. In this silence, you begin to feel your own rhythm, your own pulse. You notice small things, the way you breathe easier when alone, the ideas that spark when no one's watching, the desires you buried under others' expectations. This silence is where transformation begins. You start to shed the voices that told you who to be. You stop explaining yourself, stop seeking approval. You realize you don't need to be loud to be heard, don't need to perform to be valid. In this quiet, you find clarity, not answers, but questions that matter. What do I want? What feels true? What lights me up? These questions aren't selfish, they're sacred, guiding you back to your core. This silence is like a forest clearing after a storm. The chaos settles, and you see the landscape clearly, your landscape. You don't need to rush to fill it, you can sit, breathe, listen. In this space, your true self begins to grow, rooted in authenticity, not expectation. It's not about isolation, it's about connection, first with yourself, then with a world that resonates with your truth. To expand, practice this silence intentionally. Carve out moments, 5 minutes, an hour, where you let the world fade. Journal your thoughts, walk without a destination, sit with your feelings. These acts aren't escape, they're anchors, grounding you in your own presence. The silence becomes a canvas where your dreams, once stifled, begin to take shape. As you embrace this silence, something shifts. You wake up without dread. You move through the day without the weight of others' gazes. You make choices not to prove something, but because they feel right. This isn't about becoming perfect, it's about becoming real. You're not chasing ideals or accolades, you're living as you, unfiltered, unapologetic. Your strength emerges not in loud victories, but in quiet truths, choosing what aligns with your soul, saying no to what doesn't, trusting your inner compass. This strength looks different from the world's version. It's not about pushing through or proving your worth, it's about honoring your essence. You might start small, saying no to a draining commitment, pursuing a passion others don't understand, resting without guilt. Each choice is a declaration, I am enough as I am. The world may not notice, but you do. You feel lighter, clearer, alive. This rediscovery is like unearthing a hidden spring. The water, your strength, was always there, buried under layers of expectation. As you clear the debris, it flows freely, nourishing your life. It's not loud or flashy, it's steady, sustaining, yours. This is the power of living true, of choosing yourself over the script. To delve deeper, celebrate these small acts. Write down a moment you chose yourself, a time you followed your gut, ignored a should, or rested without apology. These are victories, proof of your strength. Over time, they build a life that's not just lived, but felt, deeply and authentically. Consider Sarah, a woman who spent years in a corporate job that drained her. She was good at it, promotions, praise, stability, but every morning felt like a battle. Deep down, she loved painting, but dismissed it as impractical. Friends called her dreams childish, family urged her to stay secure. One day, the weight became unbearable. She quit, despite the criticism, and started painting in her garage. No plan, no audience, just her and the canvas. 2 years later, her art was in galleries, but more importantly, she was alive, smiling, creating, free. The world laughed, then fell silent, awed by her courage. Or take Michael, a mechanic who felt out of place in his routine. He loved music, not fixing cars, but feared judgment. Men don't chase hobbies, he was told. Yet, he started composing at night, ignoring the doubts. His songs found an audience online, and now he creates full-time, not for fame, but for joy. His strength wasn't in enduring, it was in choosing his truth. These stories echo your own. They're not about grand success, but about returning to self. The world may mock at first, but it respects those who live authentically. Your path, like theirs, is about listening to the quiet voice within, even when it leads you away from the crowd. To expand, reflect on those around you. Notice someone who broke free, a friend who left a toxic job, a stranger who pursued a dream. Their courage mirrors yours, showing that the path back to self is universal, yet uniquely yours. These stories are beacons, lighting the way to your own truth. Breaking free from external expectations means writing your own code, a set of principles rooted in your truth. Start by letting go of what's not yours. Release relationships that dim your light, tasks that drain your spirit, thoughts that carry fear. This isn't about cutting people off, it's about creating space for what aligns with you. Say no to obligations that feel hollow. Pursue desires that spark joy, even if they seem small or strange. Trust the impulses that feel like you, not the shoulds you've inherited. This new code isn't a plan, it's a feeling. You'll know it when you wake up curious, not anxious. When you choose silence over noise, authenticity over approval. It's in the moments you act without explaining, move without doubting. You don't need to know the destination, just follow the direction that feels true. Over time, these choices weave a life that's yours, vibrant and unburdened. This process is like planting a garden. You clear the weeds, expectations, judgments, and sow seeds that are yours alone. Some sprout quickly, others take time, but each grows in your soil, not someone else's. The garden doesn't need to impress, it needs to live, to reflect your essence. This is your new code, a life built on truth, not obligation. To delve deeper, practice discernment. Each day, ask, does this feel like me? If it doesn't, let it go. If it does, lean in. Journal these moments, track what lights you up. This builds momentum, turning fleeting impulses into a steady rhythm, guiding you toward a life that's yours alone. Living as your true self brings a quiet power. You stop measuring yourself against others' standards. You don't need their approval, their validation, their applause. You move through the world differently, not louder, but clearer. People may notice, some may resist, calling you selfish or strange. But their words lose their sting because you're no longer carrying their load. You're free to be, not to perform. This freedom transforms everything. Conversations become richer when you speak from your heart. Work becomes meaningful when it aligns with your purpose. Rest becomes sacred when it's a choice, not an escape. You attract people who see your light, not those who demand you dim it. The world stops feeling like a stage and becomes a space to create, to connect, to live fully. This freedom is like stepping into a wide-open field after years in a crowded room. The air is yours to breathe, the space yours to explore. You don't need to fill it with noise. You can simply be, letting your presence speak. This is the gift of unburdening yourself, of choosing your truth over the world's script. To expand, embrace this freedom in small ways. Say what you mean, even if it's simple. Act on a dream, even if it's a single step. Rest when you need, without guilt. These acts build a life that's not just lived, but loved, a testament to your strength in being you. You're not weak, you're awakening. The weight you've carried wasn't yours, the voices you've heard weren't your truth. By letting them go, you're not losing, you're returning, reclaiming the self you were always meant to be. This journey isn't about perfection or speed, it's about honesty, about listening to the quiet within and trusting where it leads. You don't need to have it all figured out, just take the next step, the one that feels like you. Thank you for being here, for feeling this call, for choosing to listen. You're not just watching, you're part of a movement, a wave of people shedding the weight of others' expectations to live authentically. Your presence, your courage, your truth light the way for others. Keep returning, keep shining, keep being you.